In this lesson, we are going to discuss the electric field both inside and outside a solid conducting sphere that is charged. And then we will also find the field both inside and outside a spherical shell, which means if this is hollow, if the sphere is hollow inside. Now let us consider a charge Q on each of these objects. So you have a charge Q in each case, and for the solid conducting sphere, the charges will spread out and they will be close to the surface of the conductor. In case of the spherical shell, they are on the shell because the shell is thin. In case the shell is thick, they will be towards the outer surface, and in case of the insulating sphere, they can be throughout its volume. Now, you must be wondering, why is this the case? See, in case of a conductor, the charges, if you place them inside over here, they're going to repel each other. And they're going to move away as far away as possible. They obviously can't fly off the surface. So the furthest they can move is to the surface of the conductor. So the charges in case of a conductor will reside at the surface of the conductor, whereas in case of an insulator, they can be present inside the volume of the insulator. Now to find the electric field both inside and outside this solid conducting sphere, we are going to follow a particular sequence of steps. So this is the electric field. Now since the charge is spherically symmetric, so if you see, we've just completed the first step, which was we've drawn the charge distribution and we've made an intuitive guess for the electric field. It should be uniform all around the sphere. Next is to choose a suitable Gaussian surface. Now, since the charge is spherically symmetric, so we will choose a spherical Gaussian surface and say this is the imaginary surface that we choose. Now, if you're wondering what is a Gaussian surface, a Gaussian surface is one on which we apply Gauss's law. So if you recall, Gauss's law states that integral E dot ds over a closed surface, and this indicates a closed surface, is equal to 1 by epsilon naught times the charge enclosed by that surface. Now, if you do not remember what is Gauss's law, I suggest you go through the lesson titled Gauss's law. Just go through that and then you come back to this lesson. Okay, now let us take a look at step 3. So the next step is to choose a suitable Gaussian surface, and we've chosen the sphere as our Gaussian surface. Let's just call this S1. And the third step is to check if the electric field is perpendicular to the surface, because when we find integral E dot ds or E dot dA, whatever you use, then at each point of the surface, the area element, say this is the area element and this is the direction of the area vector, which is an outward drawn normal, and the electric field, this is also the direction of the electric field. They are both parallel to each other. So in this case, when the electric field is normal to the surface, that means the electric field is going to be parallel to the area elements. So this integral will become E ds cos 0, and cos 0 you know is 1. So we've also chosen a surface on which the electric field is everywhere perpendicular to the surface and it is constant. Over here, all the points on this sphere are at a fixed distance from the center of the sphere. The distance is same for all points on the sphere. So the electric field is also going to be the same. Now step 4 is to find the left hand side of Gauss's law, which means the total electric flux. Now the total flux phi through the Gaussian surface S1 is equal to, we'll put E outside the integral sign since it's a constant, and integrating over the total surface area, which is adding up all these small elements which make up the area, gives us the total area of the sphere, which is 4 pi r square. Because we have taken this radius of the Gaussian surface as r and the radius of the conducting sphere is capital R. So this is 4 pi r square. The next step is to put this equal to the right hand side of Gauss's law, and the RHS is the Q enclosed over epsilon naught. You can see that the Q enclosed, the total charge enclosed by this Gaussian surface is all the charge Q. So the charge enclosed over epsilon naught is equal to the total charge Q by epsilon naught, and then equating the total flux with the charge enclosed over epsilon naught, we get E times 4 pi r square is equal to Q over epsilon naught. Hence E is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q over r square. Now this is something interesting. This is same as the electric field which would be produced if you had a single charge Q placed at the center of the sphere. Next, let's find the electric field inside the sphere. To find the electric field inside the sphere, we need to choose a Gaussian surface inside the sphere. Say this is a Gaussian sphere and we'll just label this as S2. Now you can see this clearly that the left hand side is the electric flux, which is integral E dot ds, but the right hand side is the charge enclosed. Now this Gaussian surface S2, which is inside the solid sphere, does not enclose any charge, so the charge enclosed is 0. This means the electric field inside the solid conducting sphere is 0 everywhere. The field starts at the surface and then it falls as 1 by r square. Let's put this on a graph. It will make it a little easier for us to understand. Okay, now let's plot the electric field versus the distance r measured from the center of the sphere. The electric field inside the sphere is 0 everywhere, and the electric field outside the sphere is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, which I am writing as K capital Q over r square. So we are going to plot the electric field along the y-axis and the distance r along the x-axis. So we have r here, and this is the electric field, and this is a distance equal to the radius r of the sphere. Now you can see that the electric field is 0 up till a distance r. So this has a value 0 till here. At the surface of the sphere, the electric field will be K capital Q over capital R square, which is actually the maximum value that it's going to have. So this is the value for K capital Q over R square. So this is the value of the electric field at the surface of the sphere, and the field is going to fall with R. So as R increases, as you move away from the sphere, the field is going to fall as 1 by R square. Now I want you to similarly derive the electric field both inside and outside a spherical shell. The hint that I'll give you is the charge Q is going to once again reside on the surface of the shell. So you choose a Gaussian surface inside to find the electric field inside the shell, and you choose a Gaussian surface outside. You can choose a spherical Gaussian surface in both the cases. So you choose a spherical Gaussian surface in both the cases to find the field inside and outside the sphere, outside the spherical shell, So now this brings us to the end of the discussion on electric field inside and outside a solid conducting sphere. And you can similarly derive the electric field both inside and outside a spherical shell. And then if you plot it on a graph, you'll get the same graph.